Hello, hello. Welcome to A VO's Journey. My name is Anthony. This show is about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all the crazy things that this guy seems to step on. We are doing part four of how to get started in voiceover. Today we're doing developing your performance skills, and I'm going to give you a couple of points of things to think about and to help you to begin to develop your skills. Now, as we get into the acting part, and our part 5 is going to be building a business and finding work. But as we get into these parts, it's really essential that you get coaching, you get something from some guidance, right, that can help you individually grow your business based off of where you are right now, your particular circumstances. We're all in different places, so it's really important to do that. And we'd love to help you out at VO Journey Academy. So check that out below. The link is there. Great time to join. We're towards the end of March. This is perfect. All right, so let's get started into part 4, developing your performance skills. First off, as you start to target your acting and your performance skills, you are going to learn that this is a lifelong journey. Acting is a skill that we practice and train forever. So first and foremost, give yourself a break, okay? Because this is a long process. It's not something that you're going to just happen to you overnight, okay? That's why training is so important with it. But the first thing we're going to talk about in this is understanding the scripts and audience, that you are targeting with the voiceover. I like to call this reading with intent. So basically, and a perfect example, and I just talked about it earlier in my video today, my coffee time, about I had 2 different clients, and they came to me with very similar scripts. Okay, just kind of explainer type commercial scripts, and I delivered them as I do, neutral, both of them, because they really wasn't a lot of direction. And it could have gone either way. But they came back, and this is what is hilarious. One wanted it faster and said that they thought I would do it faster. And then one came back and said they wanted it slower and said that based off of the work I've done, they thought I would have been slower. And I giggle because, right, understanding the scripts is very important, but also the intent of the person hiring you, okay, or their opinion about what should be also is a huge card in this. You could do everything right with these performance. You could look at the script and understand it, feel like you're there, and know what's going on. But in the end, they were playing, in their mind, to a very specific audience, right, as well. So because they hadn't passed that along, right, I didn't know exactly what I was, who I was targeting, other than the people that I thought would get that. But the point is that getting more in depth with understanding the scripts, understanding the audience they're targeting, and then getting that information from the person who hires you, that's really important, okay? And, because that will help you actually deliver a script better. I think a lot of our challenges is when we go into voiceovers, especially early on, right? The intent that we read a script with is first and foremost to ourselves, let's just try to make this sound interesting. But there could be there's a very specific audience that these people might be going after. There's a very specific way they might want it excited. They might want it serious. They might want it cheeky, right? They might want it silly. They might want it authoritative, right? They might want it commanding. They might want it sultry. There could be a whole variety of ways to that they want it. So understanding the script also involves understanding what they want from you. Okay, that's really important as well. Understanding what they're looking for. So working on, reading with intent, knowing what style you're going in with when you read a voiceover is very important. Next, warm up and vocal health. I really like this. Every single day you should be warming up your voice before you start. Absolutely. Okay. 5 to 10 minutes of warm ups. I like to do a whole variety of warm ups. I know this might sound silly because we sit down or we stay in one place, but I really like to start off with stretching. I like to start off with, even if I touch my toes, if I roll my neck, right? If I, I'll like pull my arm across, you know what I mean? Things like this. Why do I do that? Well, for a variety of reasons. One, it feels good to stretch. But two is because actually I find that the act of stretching and getting ourselves, it helps get ourselves in the right mindset, right? We start to, it's like a break and an action to get ourselves focused on what we're doing. Then we move to our mouth, all right? And we start stretching around our mouth, our jaw, okay? Then we work into our vocal warm-ups, okay? I like tongue twisters. I like movements with my lips, now, if you're a singer or anything like that, and you have vocal warm ups that you sing, I love to do, many mumbling mice, some octave work. I just like to warm up my voice and then move into tongue twisters. Tongue twisters are very important. Here's the thing with tongue twisters, though, as you're using them to warm up with, remember, in our particular case, speed is not what's important with tongue twisters. In fact, we don't want to go fast. We want to go slow, and we want to overdo how we're saying the word. So Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. I don't want to go fast. I want to say it just like that. And I want to make sure that I am forcing myself to open my mouth. I am slowly speaking the words, finishing them perfectly, and overdoing them. The reason why I overdo them is because when we go to actually speak, right, we're not going to overdo them. We're going to get nervous. We're going to be focusing on something else, right? And the act of the motions of us overdoing it will diminish by like 70% when we actually go to do something for real, for live. So by us overdoing it, it will translate to us actually getting it a little bit better. Okay, if that makes sense. Sorry, excuse me. So that helps a lot when it comes to us doing better with our vocal warm-ups. Okay, now vocal health, it's important that you realize you're going to get tired, especially the more you talk and the more you narrate. And after hours of this, you get really tired. Your voice gets tired. And if you strain too much, you might end up losing your voice. So a good rule of thumb is to drink water, take breaks. And what I mean by a break, I mean, especially like if you're narrating long form, it's okay to read a page, stop, take a swig of water, quick walk, a couple seconds around your booth, outside your booth, especially if it's super hot in your space, open the door, get up, come back, do the next page. This is a great it's a great meter. It's a great break. It helps your voice, okay, and it keeps your throat. With the water, it keeps it hydrated. So that helps a lot. Okay, make sure you're not screaming. Make sure you rest your voice, especially after long books. You need to rest. You need to go on a little bit of vocal rest. It means you don't talk as much. Okay, we don't want to completely stop talking all the time. I think that's a misunderstanding. People think, well, I go on vocal rest, I just don't talk. But that can actually also cause issues. But we want to really reduce how much you're saying and talking. Okay, if you are feeling your voice being strained. Okay, so let's move on to finding your natural delivery, and I'm gonna call this, because I've always have, finding your money voice. Now, I've a long time ago, I came up. I think this was about 4 or 5 years ago. I don't know if anybody uses it, but it's a term that I like to use, is your money voice. It's finding that delivery that people hire you for the most. Okay. And a lot of times, if you're struggling being hired, it could be because you have yet to find that money voice. You've yet to find your money voice. And it takes some exploration, right? It takes you trying different styles. It takes you working with, acting coaches, but in the end, it takes you trying a whole variety of things and deliveries, pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone sometimes to find that voice that people hire you for. When I first started, and I've said this before, but I would, use high pitch more because I was very excited. So, sometimes I like this. Sometimes I get excited, and I push everything forward, right to the forward part of my nose and my mouth. So I get this higher pitch tone, and I'm like, I'm excited, and yeah, like I mean, a little silly, but that's how I used to deliver everything because I thought that's what commercials, because to me that was giving energy, right? And then and you can actually hear it in my voice. If you listen, you can hear the shifting of the positioning of the noise in the form of words coming out of my voice. You can hear it shift to the front of and then you can hear it shift to the back of my throat, right? And as I talk now, more of how I speak now. Except when I get really excited and it moves a little bit forward, well, that moved more to the center. But now when I move forward, it moves to the front. But when I talk, it moves back to the back of my throat. And you can hear the difference. And I had to learn that difference when I was it took me a couple of years to really understand the positioning. And then as a, trained actor, and I'd gone to school and I got my, like I said, my BFA in theater, and then I got my master's, and I trained as an actor. I performed, I toured, and we were always taught you speak to the back of the house, the last seat in the house. In order to do that, you have to use your diaphragm, and you have to use your whole body in a manner in which you're not straining your voice, but it's opening up your throat so that you can project, and it gets louder and louder. Anyways, point is what you don't do is talk from constraining your throat. But what I realized, right, is if we have a conversation and we're relaxed, we pretty much talk from our throat and constricting our throat. And it was something that it was a light bulb that finally went off into my head. And I was, because it was contradictory to everything I had been taught and trained, okay, as an actor and a singer. I mean, if you've been trained as a singer at all, that's the absolute opposite of what our training tells us. But when we're speaking, conversationally, and relaxed, we typically talk from our throat. We don't project from our diaphragm, right? Now as you project from your diaphragm, you have that well of force from the air and the pressure, and you can open up your throat. You can get a very unique full sound. But remember, our ear is right here. And it's not natural to sound like that. When it comes to we're trying to sound nowadays more than ever real. And even when now we're up against AI, so we have to sound even more real and natural, okay? And not so perfect. That's, you know what I mean? And that's where using your throat, and I never thought I would teach, people to do that. But the reality is I learned from me. Using that turned into a way that our people would hire me a lot. And, it became my money voice. You have to find that yourself. You can find it with training and, getting someone to help push you and your boundaries. Okay? Now let's talk about the different styles, because as you grow as a voice actor, and I just was talking about, right, trying different style or trying different, deliveries in order to find your money voice. It's also important to know the different styles, the voiceover styles, genres out there, if you will. And because I use styles, it's not style, it's genres. Let's say categories of voiceover, like commercial, narration, voicemail, character, e-learning, etc. We have these different categories, and each one of them kind of has their expected delivery. Again, it's important to always be yourself, and to be unique. Of course, that's vital. But at the same time, we expect you to play within the rules. I always use it like I do when I talk about sports, right? And I'll say, in a football game, right, or a baseball game or whatever game, you have to learn the rules within the game. The game has rules, right? They have innings, they've got downs, they've got quarters, they've got boundaries. That, you know what I mean? They've got out of bounds and things like that. You have to learn that, and then when within those rules, you can be yourself and create something new, but it has to be within those rules, within those boundaries. That's how we play. And I believe it's the same for voiceover. Each one of these, it's like its own game, and it has its own rules and its own boundaries. And you need to learn those in order to be uniquely you within them. Okay? Because you're not going to deliver a commercial voiceover the same as you would deliver a voiceover for meditation. I mean, you're and of course there's always exceptions, but this rule holds true. There are different styles of deliveries for these categories, and one of your jobs as you grow in this industry is to learn those different deliveries. You might find, and that's how you might also find your money voice. Where does your best delivery fit into? Is it commercial? Is it narration? Is it character work? Early on, I did a lot of nonfiction audiobooks because I had been a teacher as well, and I listened to a lot of self-help books. I was a lot of trying to learn and better myself, so I was very familiar with that. So it was very easy to me to transition into doing nonfiction audiobooks. But I also was a character actor for most of my life. So I had a lot of character voices. I loved to do villains, so I had a lot of villain stuff. So I got work doing that. What I hadn't done was a lot of commercial work or leading male type of work. So I didn't get very much of that. And it took me a few years to get to that, to be able to build that, and to, to create that. So that was something that I worked on. So understanding all of the different categories and the rules that govern them, aka the style in which it's expected to be delivered. And you can tell this. I mean, you can tell this right away. If you listen to commercials from more of a new voice actor who is still learning the delivery and learning their style, and then you listen to a seasoned voice actor, you'll hear the difference. You'll hear the difference in the confidence and the speed and the delivery, the emphasis on different words, the modes of expression. You'll hear a lot of differences. You might not be able to define it, all right, because you're not necessarily trained in defining it, but you'll be able to hear it. You'll pick up on it, say, yeah, that one sounds professional. That one sounds like they're still working on finding it. You know what I mean? So you have to learn those rules, and that's all that it is, that it's rules that you will learn over time. All right, and the last thing is the practicing and self-directing. I think it was funny, a famous acting coach, Uta Hagen, she wrote a series of books, but basically on acting. But the thrust in her books and where she tried to come up with was, how can an actor practice by themselves? Because in acting, right, especially stage acting, you usually always need to act with someone else, right? Because acting is reacting. It's always based off of something happening. Okay, because it's based off of action. So there wasn't a lot written about how do you practice by yourself as an actor. You need a partner, or you need a class. You need something, someone to practice with. Well, she wrote, a series of books, but mainly the thrust was putting yourselves into situations where, you could go through menial tasks, whether it's like, coming home, like coming into your door, putting down your bag, taking off your shoes, going to the fridge, doing menial things, right, over and over, and trying to recreate how you would do it if you were not acting, and to find the bridge between between you doing it on purpose for a show, right, and you doing it in real life, and finding that connection between the two. And you do that by practicing over and over again, which of course was all based off of the original, work from Stanislavski, right? So anyways, the point is that for us, we have the ability to practice through our recording and through, scripts and listening to what other people are doing, recording it ourselves, comparing our pacing, comparing our pitch variations, our different expressions, all right? Comparing all of these things, that allows us to, practice on our own. However, it is still really important to be able to work with other people to practice. That's why, I'm always preaching about VO Journey Academy, but like we have script workout last night. It's so important to get with a group of people as well to be able to practice so that you can get feedback. Because in the end, training your ear to understand what you need to hear is just as important as your performance. Because if you're performing and you can't distinguish whether something you nailed it or you didn't nail it, or that was a good take or not a good take, and remember, there's still the other person who has to weigh in, like the owner or the producer or the client. They're still going to be like, yeah, I like that, but I'm actually looking for this, because they have something in their mind. So remember, you've got to be able to distinguish between all of that and then be able to switch. And you do that through practicing. A great way, when we talk about self-directing, is to find, and I'm going to leave you with this, is to go to like iSpot TV, right? And listen to these commercials and write down transcribe them so you have the copy, and then record yourself doing it. Play that back, listen to the recording of the person who was hired from it, and compare and contrast. How did you sound? Did you sound similar to what they sounded like? Did it match? Did your pitches match? Did the speed match? Did the sound? Now remember, we're not trying to impersonate the sound of their voice, because that's where we are unique. But we are trying to get down the delivery speed, the confidence, the modes of expression, okay, the variations, the pausing. We're trying to get the feel for how, what is being hired out there, like what's being expected. And that's a great way to practice on your own and to help you self-direct yourself. But just note that self-direction is the primary form of direction these days. So now I'm shifting to this last thing. Self-direction for us, we don't have directors. We'll get, just like I was saying in the beginning of this video, I had clients come back and one said one thing, one said the other thing. And that was after I had done the voiceovers. This happens all the time. Most of us will get a little bit of direction, all right? And they'll usually do it in the form of, I liked what you did. Can do it like that. And then when you do something, they'll come back and be like, okay, that was good. Let's try it like this. Do you see what I mean? Like it's all this different stuff. And, you have to self-direct yourself. So you have to be able to see, okay, I want to try this. I want to, we talked about reading with intent. I'm going to focus my efforts on this. And you need to be able to determine, did I do that? Did I deliver on that? And then you have to give yourself a break, because you could do all that and the client could come back and be like, yeah, we want something else. And you'd be like, but I did exactly what I set out to do. And that's okay. The key here is for you to be able to also transition and do something else. And we didn't talk about being directable, but when someone comes back and they say they want it differently, can you match and change? That all takes practice, and it helps to have training. You have to be trained. There's no profession in the world that you're not trained for. There's none. That doesn't mean that there aren't where people have taught themselves, but then they eventually still go get training. You train for everything. Okay, it makes no difference. So there's no exception in voiceover. You train. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. Remember, tomorrow we're going to be talking about part 5, finding work and building a business. It's one of my favorite parts to talk about. All right, is building your business. All right, guys, you have a wonderful day. Take it easy. Bye, everyone.